It's the last day of the offsite. The meetings were productive, the energy was contagious, exactly what the team needed. The CEO pulls you aside to say, "Thank you, this was next level." And you smile because it felt that way to you too. You found the secret to delegating the logistics so you could focus on shaping your team's experience. You used Offsite. They handled the venues, the negotiations, the logistics, and together you created an experience that will move your business forward. Sound too good to be true? It's actually within reach, and it can even save you money. See how at leaderassistant.com/offsite.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, welcome to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and this is episode 363. You can check out the show notes for this conversation at leaderassistant.com/363. Again, leaderassistant.com/363. So today I'm excited to be speaking with Dawn Stallwood. Dawn is a leadership counsel, has close to 30 years of experience serving and working closely with leaders in their management teams, including their assistants and chiefs of staff. And then she also wrote a book called Beautiful Leadership. And we're excited to chat with Dawn and learn a little bit about her career and the importance of empowering assistants and why CEOs or what CEOs lose when they automate roles of their most faithful inner office colleagues. So Dawn, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Tell us what part of the world you are in and what you like to do when you're not working.
So I'm from the other side of the Atlantic. So I live in Surrey, which is a county south of London. And when I'm not working or serving leaders or doing the deal work, I have written a book, of course. But other than that, it's family time in nature, and just sort of catching up with life, really. Life seems to get busier as every year goes by.
Awesome. What is your role? So you've been an M&A lawyer, and tell us a little bit about your law experience and all that, and how you got into it, and then we'll get into more specifically how you've interacted with assistants over the years.
Sure. So I trained as a lawyer in the normal sort of traditional route in the UK. So going through a law degree, then I spent some time in house, which is actually where I had my first interactions really with executive assistants, and what they taught me, I still am grounded on today. And then I went into the city with a large regional firm and did my time in the city working in corporate commercial, mergers and acquisitions, on deals, disposals, crisis management, growth into new markets, and took in one recession as well, which is always good experience, even though it's quite hard. It was good to have that under my belt. And then in 2010, I decided that partnership wasn't for me, and that I wanted to be closer to the action and much closer into the boardroom. So I left and set up my own corporate consultancy, which is Floodlight Business, and we brand ourselves in and into the platform. Which essentially means that whilst we're doing the deal, whilst we're doing the crisis management or the growth work, we also focus on how we make sure that we're operating from a state of completeness without the fracture or friction that you can sometimes see in boardroom or management settings or in consortiums. So that's been the last 30 years, and it's been very varied and very busy.
Yeah, definitely sounds busy. It's definitely a whole different world. I've kind of I have utmost respect for those in legal counsel roles because I understand pretty much none of that world. So I respect those who dive in and can understand that world.
It's interesting you say that, Jeremy, because we actually have a lot in common with those who are sort of general counsel or of counsel sitting inside corporates. The one thing that you have in common, I think, as an executive assistant or a chief of staff is faithfulness. If there was one hallmark quality I would say applies across the really great executive assistants and chiefs of staff I've worked with and the general counsel that I've also sort of engaged with, it's that word faithfulness. It's not loyalty, it's they're utterly committed to the task at hand and being what they need to be in any given moment. And it's quite an impressive quality when you see it at work. It distinguishes people.
Mm. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. You've seen that obviously in your career working with executives and their teams, or quote unquote inner office colleagues. So what do CEOs lose when they try to automate those roles or try to get by without the roles of, chiefs of staff and executive assistants?
Well, I think I could speak for most people when you're sitting inside an organization where you do have the benefit of having an EA or a PA with you, and then someone comes along and says, well, surely there's a more efficient way of you doing it. Maybe you don't need to have an EA or as much of an EA as you currently have access to. And in my experience, it's complete folly in that it never serves the organization or the individual well, because what you lose by thinking you can do it yourself is far greater, I think, than the efficiency you might think you gain through, or the savings you might have through using automation or AI. And for me, a couple of the really big ones are space. So what you lose as a leader when you don't have a gatekeeper, someone who is actually really managing your time, is you don't have space. And leaders need execution space, and they desperately need strategic space where they can think. And I notice across my leaders I've worked with over the years an increasing trend that they are busier than ever, and space is, it's a luxury item, but it's essential. And really the only people who can manage that space professionally and with sort of more success probably than the leader would have, system. And the other thing I think that you lose a perspective. So the outer awareness that an EA, chief of staff, can bring into a leader who might be zeroing in and focus on something on any given day is really valuable. And there's a risk that you can become a bit more tunnel visioned, and a really good EA is able to help you understand the wider environment you're in without breaching confidentialities of individuals or without it being gossipy. They can actually do it in a really faithful way that helps the leader see what they need to see and then have space to be able to act on it. So those are the two things: space and perspective are the two that I think you lose if you try to do it all yourself.
Space and perspective. Love it. Just jotting down some notes. That's good. Well, what have you seen with, specifically related to the whole AI trend and automation, the capacity and the conscience of the organization? How have you seen teams try to implement AI or try to automate things, like you said, without an assistant? And how has that impacted them negatively, based on your work with these teams when it comes to your expertise?
I think so far, the AI implementation that I've seen hasn't been as successful as they'd hoped it would be. So I think there's a sense of, we need to do something. We should be involved. We should have some level of involvement with AI, where do we start, rather than let's diagnose the problem that we're trying to solve for, make sure that our human process of it is as good as it can be, and then let's put AI over it. There was an MIT study quite recently that said something like more than 70% of AI implementation projects fail, and they fail because of how they are not implemented, but what they are seeking to create more efficiency for. So rather than actually solving a pure process that's currently human, they just put an AI process into that instead, and doesn't actually solve the problem. So I'm seeing a little bit of a pause if I think about the clients I serve at the moment and some of the large corporates that we work with, multinationals. There's a real level of discernment going on around what they implement and why. And interestingly, I'm not seeing the EA roles being replaced, as it were, or sort of managed down in any degree. So I think it's, despite what you might hear in the press, my personal experience on the ground is that AI is going to take a while for it to actually step in and either fill the gap or to create efficiencies. We're using AI all the time, all of us, in the apps that we use and the systems that we use. But I'm not seeing it being used in the physical EAs that are in buildings serving leaders that I know. AI is not creating worries for them at this stage. There will be a time, of course, where there might be more opportunity for AI to come into the mix. And at that point, it has to be, careful judgment. And it goes back to, wouldn't a virtual EA pick up the nuances or the heat of the moment in a team or in a deal? And I don't know what your experience is, Jeremy, but I can't see AI doing that anytime soon. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I definitely think that there's a lot of progress that's been made and a lot of things that I am even using AI and automation in my role for, but there's also a long way to go. So I definitely am a proponent of AI plus humans, not AI versus humans. And I think especially for assistants, it's important to be aware of what's going on and be okay with and interested in embracing automation and AI versus being afraid of it, but also knowing that, hey, you know what, you bring a lot to the table, a lot more to the table than just, scheduling meetings and balancing expense reports.
Absolutely. And if you can free somebody up from some of those activities to allow the EA to be more strategic, to actually add even more value that they can bring because of their expertise and just their human qualities, I'm all for that.
So tell us a little bit about this book that you wrote. It's called Beautiful Leadership. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So tell us, why did you write the book and what's it about? What's the framework? And, we'd love to hear about it.
So thank you for that opportunity. So I turned 50 in 2024, and with that came a sense of half time and a little bit of legacy work, I think. What did I want to do next? And I've been speaking a little bit around the qualities of leadership and how you can experience truly attractive and transformational leadership and what it takes. And I was encouraged to actually basically write that down. Breaks out into 9 qualities of attractive leadership, inspiring leadership. But the qualities only take you so far. They're great for a foundation, but it's actually what we do in our day-to-day by way of a discipline or our act from. So leadership was broken down into 10 practices or disciplines that serve as our scaffolding, if you like, for sustainable impact over time. And you put the two things together and you have a framework, and you also have 19 chapters of a book. And I wrote the book, Beautiful Leadership, because I feel really strongly, particularly for this moment in time, that we really need beautiful leaders. We need leaders who have all of the qualities that the framework talks about and who intentionally practice what makes them impactful in a positive sense. That leadership isn't a destination, that it's a journey, it's iterative, it's experiential, and fundamentally, for your podcast audience, Jeremy, that it takes a village, just like raising a child takes a village. Leadership takes a group of people around the leader, not just the leader themselves. And that's really come through in the book when I was writing it, that, it's the people behind the scenes, including the chiefs of staff, the EAs, the assistants, the general counsels, etc., who help to make a leader whole. And that we all have a role to play in that. It's very easy for us to moan and whinge, great English word, whinge about leaders and what they're not good at. But perhaps we can also take some responsibility ourselves and say, well, on any given day when I'm coming into the office or I'm on a remote work from home day, what could I do? What one small thing could I do would help my leader be better today at what they're doing? And how can I show empathy to what the leader is presently navigating? Because it's often entirely misunderstood just what they're sort of coping with. And that's where the assistants come in, because you've got a visibility that a lot of the organization don't have. And sometimes not even the C-suites or the management teams have full visibility of really what's burdening a leader. So I think it's really important to be transparent and have empathy and to show some of these qualities, and that we all play our part.
Yeah, that's great. So what's maybe a couple of examples of practices that you think apply maybe even more so to the assistant role from the book?
Well, so I'm actually going to read. So one of the practices is S for space and setting boundaries. And there's a page on page 261, I think it is, where it says, whilst on the topic of protecting space and boundaries, I would like to make a bit of a plea. Leaders and boards, please protect the roles of executive assistants and chiefs of staff. Don't think that AI or other automation can entirely replace their effectiveness and stewardship of your space and help you to manage relationships. In my experience, the least strung out, most calm leaders are those who have these business professionals in their organizations. By all means, augment AI into their roles to make the task easier, but do value the human touch of their role as highly as you can. I never fully appreciated my personal assistants during my law firm tenure. When I left that setting and set out to run the business, it was a moment of awakening as to their importance. AI or other automation will not gauge the nuances of your team, the heat of the moment, the personalities involved, and the cacophony of voices the leader must respond to. I would not be without an executive assistant resource, and help now. I come as a package. Before you read on, consider this question. Who is guarding your space and helping you maintain appropriate and reasonable boundaries? Someone needs to be. Assume that you may not have the capacity to do this yourself, certainly not all of the time. Can I encourage you to consider this support in your organization? It could be a game changer for you. So S for space as a practice is really key. Execute as a practice. You enable the leader to basically complete the tasks that are set for them. So execution and space are very important. Hold, the third practice, the practice of hold, which essentially is hold on, so the custodian, the faithfulness part, hold out, so sometimes the need to wait well whilst you're seeking clarity, and hold off, the art of restraint. I've worked with some leaders over the years who have been very, very cross about a situation, something where they feel there's been a lack of justice or a significant breakdown in a relationship. And a good EA, chief of staff, concierge, can come alongside the chief, that leader in the heat of the moment, and can just help them bring them down, to be a safe space for them to talk to. So I think that that's often not talked about enough, just how important the holding pattern that an EA, an assistant, can provide to the leader. It's a really fundamental role that you could go through every practice in this book, Jeremy, all 10 of the practices, and see where the assistant is important. Listen to learn, execute to earn respect, adaptation, practice difficulty, practice empowerment, practice resilience, space, hold, practice improvement, and practice purpose. So helping the leader cast their vision and maintain it. In each instance, you can see that a leader is enabled, equipped, and amplified by the practices of their assistant. So that's why they're in the book.
That's great, Don. Thanks for sharing, and definitely will link to your book and so people can find it and check it out. Beautiful Leadership. I'll put all the links to that and your website and LinkedIn and everything in the show notes at leaderassistant.com/363. Again, check out Don's book and website and LinkedIn at leaderassistant.com/363 for all those links. And yeah, Don, I appreciate you taking time. The listeners don't necessarily know that we moved the time of the interview, and you were very flexible, and I was late because I was dealing with the fire from my executive. But I'm sure the assistants listening can also very much relate to having something scheduled and things going a little bit haywire, dealing with last minute details. So appreciate your understanding and appreciate your passion and work in the leadership space. But then I also really am thankful for your support of the support staff, like assistants like myself, chiefs of staff, and more. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks again, Don. And thank you for listening. And be sure to, again, check out the show notes, leaderassistant.com/363. And if you enjoyed this episode, would really appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you listen to the show on.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.
The Leader Assistant Academy is an AI-powered, on-demand professional development resource. It's for growth-minded executive assistants and administrative professionals just like you. When you enroll in the Academy, you get access to the Leader Assistant course plus streaming access to the audiobook. The course includes video lessons for each chapter of the Leader Assistant book, as well as the entirety of the Leader Assistant workbook study and discussion guide. Additionally, you get access to my exclusive Academy newsletter where I share thoughts on the state of the administrative profession, behind the scenes of my business, and sneak peeks at upcoming projects. Your enrollment also includes a one-on-one 25-minute coaching session with yours truly. But my favorite part of the Academy is the AI agent, which I've named ACE. ACE is the only AI agent on Earth trained on the Leader Assistant book, workbook, course, and Academy newsletter. So if you need guidance at 2 a.m. on a Thursday because you have a big meeting coming up with your executive and you want to ask for help, you can log on to the Academy, interact with ACE, and this AI agent will help you along your journey, guiding you to specific resources that are actually helpful in that moment. To find out more and enroll in the Leader Assistant Academy, visit leaderassistant.com/academy.